So you want to be a dungeon master?
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, we're getting deep into the Barbarian Subclasses available outside of the player's handbook. We're going to cover all 6 subclasses. Technically, there's 7, but Battle Rager is garbage. So we're covering the 6. We're covering the 6 that can be found in Xanathar's, Tasha's, and Bigby's, which is like a new thing that is specifically about giants and stuff like that. These little guys are doing all kinds of rages, all kinds of buffs, and each one has their own flavor and can make your Herald of Anger a touch more interesting. If you haven't already, go back and listen to the Barbarian episode to learn about the base class and the player's handbook subclasses. Now, there is a lot to go over, so let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
But first, I was going to have a but first. Just thinking outside the box for a minute. Taylor, I know you've almost never, that's not true. I remember it's distinct time you played a barbarian for like 3 sessions and then killed that character off and played a different character.
Yep.
So my question for you is, what would we have to add abilities or flavor-wise to a barbarian for you to be excited to play one? In a short campaign, not like a 4-year campaign or something. But.
Yeah. Spell casting's a must. I gotta have some spells. Give me access to a handful of paladin spells or something along those lines. Give me freaking Fine Steed would be a fun one.
Ooh,
you know what I'm saying?
that's
like,
a
give
wild
me
idea. Barbarian
give me
on a
some.
steed.
You're goddamn so cool. Right. How horrifying would that be?
That's funny. I like that a lot. I agree.
Yeah.
I think that there's gotta be. I mean, behind the scenes, I've been working on some subclass homebrew stuff, and I think I found a way to give the barbarian subclass or some spellcasting without going against the like established you cannot cast spells when you are raging.
Right.
I think I figured it out, but
okay.
More on that later because it's pretty broken at the way that it's written right now. And it definitely needs some work and some playtesting. For me, I think I want a subclass that celebrates the idea of going against the trope of a dumb barbarian. I want a barbarian who's smart, who has a high intelligence, and I want the subclass mechanically to reward that. So,
fair.
Like, a common example would be like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, kind of.
I was thinking
like when he changes into Mr. Hyde, he's not instantly like a dum-dum.
Right.
Like Hyde is still like fairly intelligent. You could make the argument that he's not as smart as Jekyll, but he's still smart. He's still getting away with murder and shit.
Still doing murders, yeah.
Still doing murders successfully, but
right.
So that's what I want to do. I want to play a smart barbarian, but not just for roleplay. I want the mechanics to also,
that's fair.
Work in tandem with that. Yeah. I made a homebrew one called The Path of the Doctor, and it's a little homebrew. It's one of those things where just like there's a wizard subclass that does something similar where it would be like you can add your intelligence modifier to your initiative bonus. And so, the idea of being like you're rageful and you're fucking physical as shit, but also like you have strategy.
Smart. Right.
You can still do things, and the higher your intelligence modifier is, the better you are at it. Maybe in a bonus action episode, we'll go over that one, and we can roast myself, because that was like the first subclass I've ever homebrewed, and I haven't changed it at all.
For sure.
I've also never played it.
Not play tested. Nothing's been done with it.
Nope. Sometimes you're just trying to make a quick buck, and you throw a document up on a fucking DM's Guild, and you call it a day. But like we said, there is so much to cover in this episode.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. If you're listening to this, hey, join our Patreon. There's links in the description to join the Patreon. Let us know what your favorite barbarian subclass is, your favorite character that was a barbarian that you've ever played, a multi-class that involved a barbarian. Let us know. Let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. If you feel like Battle Rager is misunderstood and maybe we're not giving it the time of day, I mean, I'd love to hear your argument, because I just think you're wrong. I think it's garbage. I think it's garbage, which is why we're not going to talk about it on this episode, but you can find it online.
Yeah.
So, taking the Battle Rager out of commish, let's get into it. Alphabetical order. I'll start with Ancestral Guardians. Specifically, they're all called Path of Blank.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so this is the Ancestral Guardian. So with all the barbarians, you're gaining things at 3rd level, 6th level, 10th level, and 14th. So at 3rd level, you get Ancestral Protectors. So while you are raging, your rage manifests as an aura kind of around you of, it's almost like spiritual guardians from a flavor standpoint. You know what I mean? You pop out when you rage, your ancestral guardian. So picture like, this would be great for like, if you were trying to make a barbarian who's more like Viking coded. I could see that really coming into play.
Yeah.
It's just flavor wise.
Just warrior ancestors.
Yes.
Just kind of come in to help you out.
Very, very fun. So while raging, the first creature that you hit on your turn becomes a target for your ancestors. So your ancestors start fucking around with them. And until the start of your next turn, the target has disadvantage on all attacks that are not you. So sort of like a goading attack from Battle Masters.
Mm-hmm.
When the target hits a creature other than you, the creature has resistance against the damage dealt. So that is really, really cool.
Fight me, freaking...
Or else. Yeah, fight me or be nerfed.
Right.
Because not only are you going to have disadvantage, but even if you bypass the disadvantage and hit, you're still only dealing half damage. No matter what it is, no matter what damage it is.
Right.
There's no qualifiers there. It's just damage. So that's nuts. Then at 6th level, you gain Spirit Shield. So now while you're raging, if another creature you can see within 30 feet of you is dealt damage, you can use your reaction to reduce that damage by 2d6.
Damn.
So anywhere from 2 to 12 damage just reduced. It uses your reaction. But reactions are one of those things where I always like having some extra options for reactions, just because if your only option is opportunity attack, there's going to come a bunch of times where you never use it.
Right.
So I love having at least 1 or 2 other options for reactions. Sometimes with the bard, especially the lore bard, it can get tricky because you have counterspell. You have cutting words. You have opportunity attacks. Like, it can get a little crazy. But this is nice. Just straight up reducing damage. And 30 feet is like a pretty good range. And then that damage that you can reduce increases. At 10th level, it becomes 3d6. And at 14th level, it becomes 4d6. Pretty solid.
Yeah.
10th level, we get Consult the Spirits. Here's your spell casting, Taylor.
Oh, yeah. Some divination spells. Let's
insanely
go.
limited, but you do get some spell casting. You can cast Augury and Clairvoyance without using spell components or a spell slot.
Oh, boy.
So Wisdom is your modifier for this. It does go on to say in the text of the subclass that, like, instead of it appearing as a sensor, because normally it's like an orb when you cast this kind of thing, similar to like scrying. But in this, it does explicitly say that it appears as if one of your ancestral guardians. It's still like invisible for the sake of all that kind of shit, but
right.
That's just a fun flavor thing. Now, the way this is worded is very specific. It says after you cast either, you can't do again until you finish a short or long rest.
Yep.
Now that comes down to like a grammar, English language kind of question of like.
It's definitely if you cast Augury or Clairvoyance, you can't do the other one. Yeah.
That's how I read it. But I'm sure that there's some English major out there who can make the argument that sometimes either does mean like both. Because I've heard, I don't know. I'm not going to get too deep into that. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if there is an argument.
Very ambiguous wording here.
Yeah, for sure. It reminds me of Furbolgs get something very similar to this, where you get Disguise Self and Detect Magic, and the way it's worded is very similar with the word either. And I've always played it like, once I cast one of them, I have to take the long rest. It's one or the other, not one
I
each.
feel like this came up on another episode very recently where it was
I think
the
there's
same
an
kind of
artificer
wording.
thing.
Yeah.
I think there's an artificer thing that's very similar, but it didn't have the word either. It was more clear. that you would be able to cast both.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah, this is... I hate the wording on this. I hate it.
Yeah, same.
But also, I'm... Augury. Oh, boy. Wheel or woe? Oh, boy.
Hey, you never know, man. You never know. That's kind of cool. You're talking to your ancestors. You're figuring things out. They're figuring out if things are going to be good or bad for the future. Or you can get wheel and woe, where things are both good and bad.
Right.
Or you get nothing,
exactly. Oh, man.
Neither good or bad. But then clairvoyance is a really good one, though.
Clairvoyance is a good one. I will say that.
Clairvoyance is good. You just have to have been to that area before, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But then you just get to have an invisible sensor that's within a mile of where you currently are, as long as you've been there before. And then you just get to choose between seeing or hearing. And then you're scrying, essentially. It's a weaker scry.
Yeah.
Because you have to have been there
in some
and it has to be
ways,
within a mile. But
yeah, I mean, but in some ways it's kind of a stronger scry because there's no saving throw attached to it.
True. Very true. Very true. Yeah. So I like that a lot. I agree that it's like not the most broken thing ever because it's, it's augury and clairvoyant, divination, but
yeah. yeah.
But and they do recharge on a short rest.
That's
or long
good.
rest, but short rest.
That's good.
So that is nice. And I like the idea. Anytime you're gonna give barbarian out of combat shit, I like that.
I agree. I agree with that.
Mechanically, the barbarian is begging for some out of combat shit. So that's nice. Now at 14th level, you get Vengeful Ancestors. So now your Spirit Shield, that 6th level ability of reaction, reducing damage, it just whatever damage you reduce, that gets done to the attacker in force damage. So it just makes that 6th level ability stronger because you're at 14th level. Remember, Spirit Shield levels up. So 14th level, you're reducing by 4d6. So now every single turn, as long as you have a reaction and your friend is taking, because it is specific about another creature.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you could do this to yourself, but 30 feet, another creature takes damage. You can reduce it by 4d6, and whatever you roll, you do that to the creature in force damage, which is incredible because force damage is like insanely rare to negate. Or to lessen.
Yeah.
There's
and
ways, but it's like
the Spirit Shield only works on another creature. It just
says
while raging if another creature. So yeah,
exactly.
But still, I mean that's immediate backlash, and like the flavor side of that is pretty dope. Of like the Spirit Guardians interposing themselves and then turning back and attacking is pretty cool.
It's very, very cool. I'm a big fan of this because you couple that with like. Also keeping in mind that like these abilities all build off of each other in such a beautiful way because you already are every time like once per attack you're targeting that creature. You're saying, hey, purple worm, you have to attack me or you're getting disadvantage on every attack. And then even if you hit them, you're getting resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you deal that, let's say the purple worm's like, I'm a dumbass worm, I don't know this, I'm gonna attack the ranger or whatever. Attacks the ranger. Ranger has resistance on all the damage. But first, I'm going to reduce the damage by 4d6 and then do that damage to... So it just makes the barbarian like a support tank in a weird way.
Yeah.
So I'm about it. I like this. And the flavoring is awesome. It's so interesting. Coming up with the ideas of like, what do your ancestors look like? What are they talking about? Because like that 10th level ability with augury and clairvoyance, it's called consult the spirit. So you're talking to the spirit. So it's just very, very cool. I like the idea a lot.
I do too. It's it's a fun subclass. It's got very big fight me bro vibes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It really does. Cause then it's like fight me bro. And also my 10 friends. And also my entire family. It's very like Italian American on the East Coast coded. Hey Tony, this guy says he wants to fight us. That's there you go. I just made my build.
There you go.
I'm done. I'm playing fucking
all right.
I'm absolutely playing this.
Before we commit, before we commit, let's talk about the next one.
Let's do it.
The next one's going to be the Path of the Beast. So this one's got like that the more primal vibe of a barbarian built into it, where you're actually taking on an aspect of an animal while you're fighting, which can take a whole bunch of different forms. So starting at 3rd level, you get the form of the beast. When you rage, you transform and you gain a natural simple weapon that uses your strength modifier. So what that means is you can elongate your jaws, make big like fangs and stuff, and you get a bite attack, which is a D8 of piercing damage. And then once per turn, you're gonna regain hit points equal to your proficiency bonus if you bite somebody and you have less than half of your health. So if you kind of are like essentially eating people, which is a little, problematic possibly, but I mean, you are, that is basically the vibes of the bite attack. You could also give yourself claws, which are, straightforward, extra D6, or not extra D6. It does 1d6 slashing damage. And then, if you use your action to make a claw attack, you also, get to make just an additional attack with it. The way that's worded, I think at level 5, that means you can take 5 attacks, or not 5, three attacks with 1 attack action at that point. So that's cool. So a bunch more damage.
Very cool. Yeah, because you're adding your strength modifier to the damage of all of these.
Exactly.
So if you have let's say you're lucky enough to have a 5 by level 5, then 3 attacks, if you hit with all 3, you're getting 15 points of damage without the
base 15 damage, right?
So it does add up in a way where it's like, okay, because it is like the least damage out of all the natural weapons at a D6. So there is like, there's some math here, but I like it.
Right. And then if you are not wanting to forego your weapon, say you're emotionally attached to your great axe, and you don't want to bite people because that's problematic, you can give yourself a tail, which is pretty dope. It does piercing damage. It's a D6 of piercing damage, and it's got reach, so that's 10 feet. You can attack with it. And then
it's specific too in the sense that it says you gain it, like your tail has the reach quality, which is a +5 to your reach. So if somehow you're like a bugbear who already has an extra reach, it just adds 5 more feet.
Hell yeah. So then if a creature you can see within 10 feet of you hits you with an attack roll, you can use your reaction to swipe your tail. You'll roll a D8 and apply that bonus to your AC. So it's a freaking potentially a shield spell, kind of. Because you have within 10 feet, if they're attacking you physically within 10
attack
feet.
Roll.
Yeah, with an attack roll.
So it can be a spell, but it has to be an attack roll.
Right, and it's only 1.
That was my understanding when I was reading it, is that it's less shield and more parry.
Fair.
Where you're just doing... But it's a D8, which is nice, because, I mean, there's going to be times where it fucking sucks, because you roll a 1.
Right. But then
that is going to happen.
But mathematically, you're also going to be rolling 8s every once in a while, too, which is dope.
Exactly. And it's one of those things, because it's a reaction, man. Yeah, you can use it on those, like, really clutch moments where you're like, fuck, I'm just about to die.
Right.
Or, like, that a monster has a swallow ability or something like that, where you're like, I cannot afford to get eaten right now.
Right.
I am the one who eats.
Except for not right now, because I have a tail.
I have a tail attack.
But yeah.
Sometimes.
So, sometimes I eat. And so that's just 3rd level. This is, you can choose any one of those 3 anytime you rage.
I like that. I like that you can change it.
Yeah. I like that too.
That's really cool.
The versatility of this class is really shines through on these different forms, because so at 3rd level you get the form of the beast. At 6th level you get the bestial soul. So your form of the beast attacks count as magical for overcoming the immunities and resistances to non-magical damage, which is dope.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also get the ability to change your form more permanently. So it's not just while you're raging. Anytime you take a short or long rest, you can change your form physically to either give yourself a swim speed equal to your walk speed and breathe underwater. You get a climb speed equal to what you get spider climb, where you get climb speed equal to your walk speed, and you can climb upside down on ceilings. Or you get a jump bonus. When you jump, you're going to make an athletics check and increase the jump distance by whatever number you roll. And you can do that once per turn. So, and that's short or long rest. So anytime you rest, you can change this aspect. If you guys are getting ready to go underwater or something like that, give me an hour, guys. I'm going to go.
I'm going to go fish it up.
I'm going to go fish it out. I'm going to go grow some gills real quick.
Form of a fish.
Right.
Hell yeah. I love it.
I see myself using the climb speed one the most.
I sort of agree. I like the ability to change it because it would be hard to commit to the swim speed thing if, depending on how much, water plays a role in the game.
Exactly.
But having it there just in case is fucking dope. You never know. The climb speed is probably the most applicable one.
Yeah.
Jump speed is also really great too. Or jump distance or whatever like that, because presumably as a barbarian, strength is your number one skill. Athletics checks are going to be great. The only using it once per turn thing is something that restriction only is going to really come up in combat. Yeah. And if you're in combat, presumably you're raging, which means you're going to have advantage on athletics checks anyway.
You can be able to
and you just get to
like
add the number rolled. Yeah, right. So like if you're rolling a 10, I mean your base jump speed is already like probably a 10 or whatever it is. So now you're just the ability to jump that far, I think could be, depending on the map, it's so applicable. Yeah. So I like that a lot also.
So I was thinking a little bit about the flavor on that climb speed thing. I was thinking, all right, so you're not wearing armor as a barbarian. Either like Spider-Man or like a gecko is kind of what I was thinking of. You get those weird flattened pad fingers that pull backwards. You ever seen a gecko climb glass and shit? It's weird. Yeah. So anyway, a lot of different flavor things you can do here, because I mean, again, this is like your actual form is changing on this. Going on to 10th level though, you get Infectious Fury. This is another one where it's like, hey, I don't want you to attack. Well, I want you to either attack your friend or attack me type of deal. So when you hit with a natural weapon attack while you're raging, so one of your special weapons, the target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw, which is based off of your constitution modifier. So it'll be 8 plus your con mod plus your proficiency bonus. Or you can pick one of these effects to happen. Either the target must use its reaction to do a melee attack against a creature of your choice that you can see, so you can make it attack its friends, or you can dish out an extra 2d12 psychic damage, which is another one that is notorious for breaking through a lot of resistances.
Yeah, absolutely. There's like a small handful of aberrations where this won't work. Right. But then you could just use the other ability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you get uses back on a long rest. So, I mean, depending on your level, at level 10, what's your proficiency bonus? It's
4.
4, right? Yeah. So right off the bat, you can use it 4 times per long rest. So an extra 8d12 damage dished out, or 4 enemies that are hurt or whatever, because it's anytime you hit with your natural weapon attack, you're causing this save.
Yeah. So you could burn this all as soon as you want. You could save some, but you could also, you could burn it as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Because let's say you're doing the claw attack one.
Yeah.
The claw attack, level 10, you have 3 attacks. That's 60 if you hit with all of them. Then that's and they have to fail. That's another important thing.
Yeah,
It is not just
but at that point, at level
12.
but at level 12, you're sitting at a 17 or level 10. I mean, so it's potentially 9. If starting at an 8 plus +5 for Constitution, just given the best numbers possible. 5 on the Constitution and then a proficiency bonus of 4. That puts you at 17 for a DC, which is the same as your solid spellcasters that are having those same DCs at that level with max stats, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I mean, not to mention, we were talking before recording, like, depending on the monster that you're targeting with this, because it's a single melee attack, right? So, like, if you're targeting a goblin, you do 6 damage to your friend. Like, not that crazy. But what if you're fighting some kind of massive legendary monster?
Right.
That has minions, obviously. Like, that's nuts. If you're asking a purple worm to use a bite attack that automatically has all these other things. It has a swallow ability, and like it's just it immediately becomes bonkers. Yeah,
this one it's a very fun ability. This one seems like a lot of fun flavor wise too. The Infectious Fury is I don't know, maybe some kind of weird rage poison or something. I don't know. But anyway, moving on to 14th level, you'll get Call of the Hunt. Anytime you enter a rage, you'll choose a number of creatures equal to your Constitution modifier within 30 feet. You gain 5 temporary HP for each creature. And then while raging, each creature you chose can either, when they hit at a creature with an attack roll, they can add a d6 to the damage, or...
I think it's just that.
It's just that. The rage ends.
Yeah.
Can use the following benefit, not a following benefit. Yeah. So, basically you're giving an extra d6 of damage to an attack roll for each person.
Yeah. Pretty solid.
And that's every attack too. It says when the creature hits a target with an attack. So,
it does say benefit once on each of their turns.
Oh, it does say once on each of their turns. Man, I can't read today. Sorry, everybody.
All good. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's not like the craziest thing in the world. Yeah. I mean, you figure, let's again pretend like they have the con of 5 or modifier of +5. You're choosing 5 creatures, 5 times 5. You start your rage with 25 temporary hit points, which, unless it's outside of the normal, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, that 25 kind of becomes 50 for the sake of physical damage. Wild. Right. But then you're just letting everybody do a little bit of extra damage. So there's no downsides to it. It's just a 1d6 is like fairly small.
Yeah.
But I mean, it adds up.
This is for the entire time you're raging, right?
Yeah.
Like they gain that d6 for the entire time you're raging. Yeah.
Yeah. The entire time you're raging. Pretty much every time you rage. Anytime you're raging, people are just doing an extra d6. Now, the downside is really like there's going to be people on your team who straight up aren't doing attack rolls.
True.
You know what I mean? Cal is a great example. Unless you're doing physical Divine Smite stuff, you're often making the person do saving throws.
Yeah.
So, like, you wouldn't get to add this 1d6 because it is pretty specific, but it's still like a cool ability nonetheless. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a nice one. Now that's spell attacks as well. It doesn't specify weapon attacks, so it'd be spell attacks too. It's just when you hit it with an attack roll.
Yeah, so as long as you're rolling. But that's the beast.
All right, beast.
Very fun flavor wise. Speaking of flavor wise, next we get into Path of the Giant. Now this one comes specifically from a fairly new supplemental book called Bigby Presents : Glory of the Giants. So people may not be as familiar with this one or something like that, but the giant one, I mean, hey, guess what? It's all giant themed. So that makes a ton of sense. So at 3rd level, you get 2 little things. There's Giant's Power, where you're going to learn the giant language. Or if you already know the giant language, for example, if you're a Goliath, then you learn another language. So that's nice. You also learn a cantrip. You get to choose between either Druidcraft or Thaumaturgy. because giants are inherently magical creatures, even if they don't have like a ton of spell casting.
I really like gaining Druidcraft with this.
So do I. I like it a lot too. Thaumaturgy is also really fun.
Thaumaturgy is a lot of fun for sure. But Druidcraft is one of those things. It's like Thieves' Cant, where it's like it's its own little secret language.
Oh, no, true.
No,
you're thinking of Druidic.
Druidic. What? I swear to God,
you're all over the place, dude.
I'm the worst.
Get it together,
I'm just the worst.
It's all good. But yeah, Druidcraft is the Druid version of Prestidigitation, essentially,
right,
where it can do a million things. It's just like whatever the DM is willing to let them go with.
Yeah.
And then Thaumaturgy is a little more restrictive, but still a lot of interesting little abilities. And Wisdom is your modifier for this, which barely matters for those cantrips, but okay. Then you get Giant's Havoc. Now, while raging, you gain the following benefits, of which there are 2. Crushing Throw. When you make a successful attack with a thrown weapon at range, you get to add your rage damage, which normally you don't. It has to be a melee attack, right? But now you get to add that rage damage. So that's really cool because it instantly makes the barbarian a little bit more effective at range. Now when you throw a javelin, a hand axe, something like that, you just get that extra damage.
Hell yeah.
Whereas normally you wouldn't get to, which is why barbarians are so dependent on being melee. So I like that a lot, that it opens it up. You also get Giant Stature, which gives you 2 things. Your reach increases by 5 feet. That's fucking cool. So you're at like a minimum of 10-foot reach, which is so cool. And if you're smaller than large, you become large if there's room for it. So
wild.
Every time you rage, you just have the enlarge spell essentially cast on you, which is fucking crazy. You don't actually have the enlarge spell because that also implies that there's extra damage and strength saving bonuses. But regardless, it does change a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like there's so many little things that are worked into the size of a creature, right? Like you're going to be that much harder to swallow from certain monsters. Like
certain push effects are if the creature is medium or smaller, like you bypass a bunch of that stuff too.
It's really, really cool. And it fits into the giant thing perfectly. You become giant. I love it. Now at 6th level, I'm a huge fan of this ability.
This one's
you get Elemental Cleaver. When you rage, choose one weapon that you have, so your main weapon probably, and you infuse it with one of the following damage types: acid, cold, fire, thunder, or lightning. And you get to choose this each time you rage, so it can change. If you're fighting a fire elemental and you're normally doing fire, you can switch it up and do cold. I love that. I love that so much. The damage type of the attack changes to that, so you're no longer doing slashing damage. You're now doing fire damage or whatever it is. That's dope as fuck. And it deals an extra 1d6 of that damage. So not only have you changed damage types, but now you're doing extra damage every single attack.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Then your weapon gains the thrown property with a range of 20/60. So now your great axe, you can fucking throw it.
And because it now has the throne property,
yes,
you can add all your rage stuff to it from Giant's Havoc.
Exactly. And the weapon reappears in your hand whether you hit or miss. So now there's 0 downside to throwing your great axe.
Wild.
And that is going to upgrade with you when you get crazy magic items in the future. You can use them because of course there's going to be times where you're like, fuck, I used all my speed, I'm so close, but I'm just out of reach of the monster, it's flying, whatever, right? And you're like, oh, but I'm holding this incredible Holy Avenger, but I don't want to throw it because God forbid I fucking miss, or even if I hit, it's fucking in the dragon who's flying. That sucks.
Right.
Well, now there's no downside to throwing your weapon because you're just going to get it back immediately after the attack, which is dope as hell. And, hey, you're mid-fight. You've never seen this monster before. You choose thunder damage. Uh-oh. It's immune to thunder. Fuck. What do? I have to get out of rage and re-rage? No. You just use your bonus action and you can change the damage type.
Wild.
That's all at 6th level.
Oh my god. And it's all the main elemental types. Like, the other side of things is if you find out that have a damage vulnerability, you can change and exploit that.
Exactly.
Insane.
And that's all just at 6th level. Then it gets better, because at 10th level, you get Mighty Impel. While you're raging, you can use a bonus action to choose one medium or smaller creature within reach and move it within 30 feet of yourself. So that's wild. So it has to be within reach. But again, remember this. Your reach just increased by 3rd level. So you have at least a 10-foot reach, if not more, because of other bullshit.
Right.
So 10-foot reach. You just choose a creature. Now if they're a willing creature, they just move. So that's really amazing. So much interesting crowd control with your own teammates. You can move people, get them out of, because it is. Oh, this is interesting. If I move a teammate, it's not. Is it forced movement? If your character is right next to the monster, 100%. And I move you away, does that provoke opportunity attack?
Absolutely not. No, that's forced movement. It's movement not on your turn.
Okay.
So yeah, you can pull your friends out of opportunity attack range, or like your spellcaster, you can move them out of reach so they don't have to.
They're not moving.
Proc.
Okay.
On their turn. Yeah, that's the big draw of moving stuff. However, I'm pretty sure. All right, if the thrown creature isn't on. Yeah, if it's not on a surface that. Yeah, so
a
liquid that can support it.
The reason I brought that up is just because there's unwilling creatures and willing creatures. Right. So I was curious if you move a willing creature, is it really forced movement? That's where I was thinking with the opportunity attack. But that's like a really specific rules thing. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But
it's not. I feel like opportunity attack is provoked when a creature uses their own movement under their own power. You're basically just grabbing a friend and yeeting them out of.
Yeah. Which makes me think that I think you're right. I don't think it would provoke opportunity attacks, but it is interesting nonetheless. So then, if it is an unwilling creature, so an enemy or something like that, then they have to make a strength save.
Yep.
So this strength save is 8. It's the DC for which is 8 plus your strength modifier plus your proficiency bonus. So presumably one of your highest skills. Yeah. So that's nice. They have to make a strength save against that, and you get to move them within 30 feet. Now, you can move them less than 30 feet, but a max of 30 feet. Now, if the creature doesn't end that forced movement on a hard surface or liquid, then it would take falling damage as normal and falls prone. So if you can just put it 30 feet up in the air or over a cavern, like a fall, a chasm, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild because that's what I would be doing all the time. You would hate me. We would never ever have any kind of cliff or anything in any of our campaigns because all of your enemies are going over the cliff.
Every
single fucking one of
them. Fucking wild. It is absolutely wild. Yeah, this is a truly crazy ability. It's so cool. Too. It just uses your bonus action. You could do it every turn. So insane. The other nice thing is, like, you could also start your turn with that, right? Because in 5e, you could take your bonus action first. Like, that's totally fine. Rogues do it all the time with the hide. So, like, you could bonus action, push them 30 feet. If there's no cliffs, you could push them 30 feet just straight up
in the air. Yeah, just chuck them in the air. Let them fall.
If they fail, then you're already doing the push. You push them, 30 feet up in the air. Then they fall. They take 3d6 damage because it's 1d6 for every 10 feet. So they're taking 3d6 damage from that. They fall prone. Now all your attacks are at advantage, so you don't need to reckless or anything like that. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. So good. Now, 14th level. I'm not sure what this first word means, but I love it anyway. You get Demiurgic Colossus. When you rage, your reach increases by 10 feet. So now it's, instead of 5 feet, it's 10 feet. Instead of going to large size, you go to huge size, which means it increases your mighty impel ability to doing large or smaller creatures. And your elemental cleaver damage increases to 2d6 instead of 1d6. So at 14th level, all of your abilities just get better.
Yeah.
This is what a 14th level Barbarian subclass ability should be. It builds on everything
100%.
that we've already done at every level. 3rd level, 6th level, 10th level. Each of those 3 abilities get better. This is the perfect example of how a 14th level thing for Barbarian should go, in my opinion. It's perfect. And that's the Giant. I love
That's
it.
a good one.
I'm a big fan.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to go over it, even though it's from like one of the newest things that neither of us own.
Yeah,
Man, I had
solid.
to go over it. It's so good.
It's absolutely solid. This one's kind of on brand for me, but I'll be going over the Storm Herald. Surprise, surprise! The Storm Sorcerer, Tempest Cleric. It's going over the Storm Herald, but here we go. So starting at 3rd level, you'll get a Storm Aura. So it's an aura that extends 10 feet from you in every direction whenever you rage. It does an effect when you enter the rage, and then you can reactivate the effect again on your turns as a bonus action. Now, there's like 3 different flavors of storm that they try to kind of go with here. So there's desert, sea, and tundra. So like a sandstorm, a thunderstorm, and a blizzard kind of is the vibes that I'm getting. Depending on which aura you pick, which you can choose at every time you rage, you can choose a different one. You can change your element at whenever you gain a level. So whichever one you pick, you're staying with that, and then it's going to apply for most of the next skills too. If it requires a saving throw, your DC is going to be 8 plus your proficiency plus Constitution modifier. So some of the effects are, if you choose the Sandstorm with the Desert, every time you go into a rage or activate the effect, all creatures in your aura take 2 fire damage, and then as you level up, this damage increases. So it'll be 3 fire damage at 5th level, 4 at level 10, 5 at 15, and then 6 at 20. Medium.
Yeah.
A medium on that one.
Yeah. It really is a very lukewarm. It's so cool flavor.
Absolutely.
To have this, like, I go into a rage and a burst of elemental storm damage comes out from me.
Right.
So fucking cool. Brother, you got to be surrounded by at least 100 people for this to actually be that cool damage-wise.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Doing 3 fucking damage? Are you kidding me? Like, don't get me wrong. You could fuck up some spellcasters, I guess, with, like, concentration checks. Maybe. But, like, it just really is not that much damage.
The thing about it that kind of makes it more consistent, I think, for me, is the fact that there is no saving throw for it. That just happens. When it comes to, like you were saying, those concentration checks, you can just keep nagging at the damn spellcaster with a bonus action every turn. You're taking this 2 fire damage. You're gonna roll again.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next one is the sea form, which is like kind of just your classic thunderstorm vibes. When you activate the effect, you can choose a creature that you can see within your aura, so within 10 feet. They must make a dexterity saving throw. They take a d6 of lightning damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. This one, the damage scale's pretty good. It is more focused though, so because it's only one creature. But at 10th level, it'll be 2d6. 15, it goes to 3d6, and then 4d6 at level 20. So that's pretty dope.
Yeah,
I would pick
it's
that
more
one
damage, more targeted.
Yeah,
but.
exactly. Yeah. And then the last one is the Tundra. When the effect is activated, each creature of your choice gains 2 temporary hit points. Oh boy.
Yeah, and then it increases just like the desert one.
Just like the other ones. Yep. 3 at 5, 4 at 10, 5 at 15, and 6 at 20.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's just a change of, like, when you go into a rage, are you surrounded by friends or foes?
Right.
Foes? Hopefully you're desert. Friends? Hopefully you're tundra.
Right.
Granted, tundra, you get to choose creatures. Desert, you do
That's
not.
true.
It's just creatures.
Right.
So
Right,
with the
exactly.
desert one, you could fuck up your friends.
Yeah, and
If your
I'm not
friendly
crazy
wizard
about
is
that.
right next to you, the boy, move
Boy.
move a little bit further away.
Yeah.
That's what Xanathar had in Crown of Candy.
Yeah.
So there were times
where
where it was like,
he's this path is Storm Herald.
yeah.
But it was just re-flavored for being candy.
Mm-hmm.
Going on to level 6, we'll get into the Storm Soul. This is kind of like the Path of the Beast in that this is kind of a changing of your inner self to reflect the storm.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on what environment you chose, you'll get some other benefits even when you don't have your aura active. If you went desert, you'll get resistance to fire damage. Dope. You don't suffer the effects of extreme heat. Moreover, as an action, you can touch a flammable object and set it on fire, as long as it's not being worn or carried.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Like,
It's
that I'd be cool with.
Pretty fucking cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
Yeah. The next one, though, also for me, like, personally, like, is dope. The C one gets you resistance to lightning damage, and then you can breathe underwater and gain a swim speed of 30 feet. That's pretty dope.
It's pretty cool.
It's a little niche, but I do like the resistance to lightning damage and the swim speed, gaining the swim speed.
Yeah, because like people need to remember too that like when you gain swim speed, of course, like the most obvious thing is, oh my gosh, now you don't have half speed when you're swimming. Mm-hmm. But you also have to keep in mind that the way that underwater rules work in 5th edition is if you do not have a swim speed, like a designated swim speed,
right,
all of your attacks are at disadvantage while in water.
Exactly.
So giving you the swim speed also just makes you good at fighting in the water. So yes, it is definitely niche, but like if you're playing a water-based campaign setting, a water world, if you're doing an underwater Atlantis kind of vibe, something, you know what I mean? Sea of Swords in Sword Coast Coup, like there's so many different things where this could be the perfect build to do a barbarian that is water-based. It could be so fucking cool. And then you don't have to pick a specific ancestry that is like a sea elf or something.
Yeah.
It's very, very cool.
And the last one is Tundra. This, again, is just going to give you that resistance to that type damage. So cold damage resistance. You don't suffer the effects of extreme cold. And you can touch water and turn a 5-foot cube of it into ice, which melts after 1 minute. And then the action fails if there's a creature in the cube. So
yeah,
you can't freeze stuff less fun, but
they really sucked the fun out of that one. That you could see the designers around a table and being like, "Oh, sick!" So like, yeah, you could totally like freeze a giant's foot in a 5 cubic foot of ice.
Yeah,
and
no,
then
we
some
can't.
dickhead
We
was
can't
like,
have that.
No.
Well, actually,
oh come on, that is pretty cool.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Yeah, anyway, so that's 6th level. At 10th level, you can use your Mastery of the Storm to protect others. Basically, it imbues this damage resistance you gain from your Storm Soul feature to any other creatures of your choice within the Storm aura. So if you went desert, they'll get the fire damage resistant. If you went sea, they'll get the lightning damage resistant. Moving on to level 4, that's it for level 10, which is it's pretty big. It's pretty big.
It's definitely like a good ability. It's just, I mean, we're talking about a 10-foot range. And you're the barbarian, so presumably one of, if not potentially the only frontline tank.
Right.
You're asking for people to be very up close with you. And now, if you
Absolutely.
Depending on this one is how good this one is, depends 100% on team comp. Do you have other frontliners? Then this is dope.
Yeah.
On some
1,000%.
fights, it's not going to matter as much because you just might not be taking fire damage, so then it's useless. But if you are, then it could be really cool. But it depends on, you need that fire, you need that damage to actually be a factor, and you need people close to you, the barbarian.
Right.
So there's a lot of variables.
Definitely a lot of variables. I really wish that instead of picking it at level up, you could change it at a rage. Would make this whole subclass a lot better.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, moving on to level 14, you gain your power of the storm gets stronger, and you can start using it kind of as an attack or a reaction thing. So if you chose desert, immediately after a creature in your aura hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to force that creature to make a dex save. On a failed save, they take fire damage equal to half your barbarian level, so 7 fire damage if they fail.
After a creature in your aura hits you with an attack.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like a backlash type of deal. If you go with the sea flavor on it, you'll get when you hit a creature with an attack, you can use your reaction to force that creature to make a strength saving throw, and if they fail, they're knocked prone, as if struck by a wave. So this could potentially, work out pretty good. You hit them with your first attack, they fail their saving throw, your second attack's with advantage already.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good ability. It's hard because you can always tell Wizards is so classic for this. Newer things, newer additions, newer subclasses and stuff like that are just a little bit better. And you can tell because the giant one at 10th level, it's a bonus action and they have to make that strength save. And then that strength save is just not only do they fall prone, you also get to put them 30 feet in the air.
Right.
So you're doing damage and making them prone as a bonus action. Whereas here, it's part of you have to hit, then you're using your reaction, which is kind of pricey. But falling prone is always, making a creature fall prone is almost always good.
Yeah.
They have reduced speed on their next turn, and it could potentially help out your entire team with the exception of range stuff because of that weird rule with it being disadvantaged. But what are you going to do?
Speaking of speed, this last one, the Tundra one, really I think is probably the most useful out of all of them. Whenever you activate the effect of your Storm Aura, which is going to give that temporary HP to your allies within range, you can also choose a creature that you can see in the aura, and they must succeed on a strength saving throw. If they fail, their speed gets reduced to 0 until the start of your next turn. That's another really nice one of being able to lock people in place.
Really, really good one. Especially because when you it just says when you activate the Storm Aura, right?
Mm-hmm. Which is
now,
a bonus action.
It's a bonus action. It's not just the first time you rage. Because you can activate the effect again on each of your turns as a bonus action. So that means every turn you could potentially do this.
Yeah, and the other thing
as long as you have a bonus action.
So it's not a grappled or restrained condition, so it's just that their speed is reduced to 0. So even if they decide, I'm going to Misty Step, that doesn't matter. Their speed is still 0. I mean, they can obviously do the Misty Step, but once they get wherever they're going, they can't move. Like, it's not an escape from it.
Yeah, and it's huge, too. The wording is actually so important because there are so many creatures, and I only know this because obviously I'm the DM often. There are creatures that are immune to grapple and restrain.
Right.
This doesn't matter if that doesn't matter.
This is just a straight up, you have 0 speed until the next start of your next turn.
Yeah.
Swim speed, fly speed, climb speed, don't give a shit, speed.
Very good.
0. That's a very good
fun.
one. But yeah, so that's Path of the Storm. Storm Herald.
Path of the Storm Herald. Very fun. Now, we get into Path of the Wild Magic. Or Path of Wild Magic. If it was that would be crazy. No, it is just Path of Wild Magic. I was like, wait a minute. Path of Wild Magic is really fun. I mean, it flavor-wise, it's awesome. You're taking some sorcerer stuff and some magic, and you're giving the barbarian the chance to do some magical stuff, but not spells. So,
damn it,
it's a little bit of honestly. How else do I express this other than saying a little bit of blue balls here? Because you're right on the tip, man. You're so close. just go all the way, man. I feel like you're teasing us.
Let me have a spellcaster.
Yeah, it just is like, oh man, you're so close. But anyway, at 3rd level, you're getting magic awareness. So now as an action, you can sense any spell or magic item within 60 feet of you that is not behind total cover. You also learn the school for any spells. So it's basically better than detect magic.
Yeah.
Because detect magic is 30 feet.
And it's just an action.
Yeah. And because it's not a spell, you can do it while you're raging if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So you get to use this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. So that's just a fun ass ability that you have. Now it's an action. So during combat, there would have to be some really good reasons that you would choose this over like attacking or something like that. But still, just having the option is fucking awesome. And out of combat, another huge use for the barbarian.
Right.
Just to be like, hey gang, don't worry about using your detect magic stuff. I mean, granted, half the time the party's using it as a ritual, so it kind of doesn't matter. But so in that way, it's a little like you're stepping on toes. I don't know, but I really like it a lot because it is a better range.
Yeah, it's a better range.
Any spell or magic item. Yeah. Wow.
And it's also like it fills a slot that is not necessarily there. Like, depending on party composition, maybe you don't have somebody with detect magic.
Yeah,
maybe that's not prepared or something like that. It would fill in that role without somebody feeling like they have to take a specific class or a specific spell just because nobody has it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a question for like your DM and stuff like that, and the talking to the party, hopefully as early as possible to let people know, like, I'm thinking about going Wild Magic Barbarian. Heads up, I get this ability. That way, you don't have all the spellcasters being like, I'll also take Detect Magic. It's like, well, not everyone needs it. Pick a different spell. But anyway, so you get that magic awareness. You also get, and now this is the crux of the class, is Wild Surge. So a kind of borrowing the idea from the Wild Surge, the Wild Magic Sorcerer. Every time you rage, you get to Wild Surge. Now, you don't have to roll in the sense of like, when you cast a spell, roll and maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. This just happens when you rage. Yeah. And they're pretty much all good things. Some are better than others, and it's a D8 table. So there's only 8 abilities. But they're pretty good. Some are better than others. Obviously, there's a randomness here that some people are going to like, some people aren't going to like until you level up. And then it, just like Wild Magic, it gets more controllable.
Right.
But like some quick examples. And by the way, if you're using a saving throw, it's 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your con modifier. That's the save. And some of them are fun. Some of them are silly. Some of them, it's going to be like, I happen to roll the worst one for where we are in combat. But number 3 is really, really fun. An intangible spirit, which looks like a flump or a pixie, your choice. And it doesn't have to look like either of those. It can look like whatever the fuck you want. But flumps are good.
Flumps.
They appear within 5 feet of one creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet. At the end of the current turn, the spirit explodes. Each creature within 5 feet of it must succeed on a dex saving throw or take 1d6 force damage. Until your rage ends, you can use this feature again, summoning another spirit on each of your turns as a bonus action.
So
you're just getting a potential 1d6 AoE damage over and over and over again. So that's really, really fun. And then
it's a flump. Who doesn't love flumps?
And it's a flump, potentially. Yeah, so cool. Another one you could get, you can use you teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. You can use this effect again on each of your turns as a bonus action. So you just get a Misty Step every single turn.
That's awesome.
Without using spell slots. Then there's like some that are, like I said, it's going to be, depends on the terrain. It depends on the map. There's so many little things. Like there's one, flowers and vines temporarily grow around you until your rage ends. The ground within 15 feet of you is difficult terrain for your enemies. Now that's really cool, but you're fighting flying enemies, useless. You're fighting guys who, for some reason or another, don't worry about difficult terrain. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So there is like that randomness to it, but that's kind of built in. That's like kind of why you're picking the class a little bit. And it does get more controllable as we level up, just like the wild magic sorcerer. So that's all at level 3. Level 6, bolstering magic. I like this a lot. It's another fun use of support for the barbarian. As an action, you touch one creature, including yourself, and you give them the following. For 10 minutes, that creature can add 1d3 to attack rolls and ability checks. That's dope. It's a weaker guidance, but it's 10 minutes long, and it's attack rolls and ability checks. So it spans what Bless can do and what guidance can do.
Yeah.
Because Bless can do attack rolls, but it can't do ability checks, and guidance can do ability checks, but can't do attack rolls.
Exactly.
So,
right.
1d3, if you're at home and you're like, a d3, what the fuck? You're going to roll a d6 and divide by 2 and round up.
Fair.
So you roll a d6, divide by 2, round up. So if you roll a 5, half of that is 2.5, round up to a 3. That's your 3. And it goes like that.
Fair.
As an alternative, instead of using that one, you can also roll a d3, and then that creature that you're touching, they regain a spell slot of that level, or a lower one if they don't have, if they're not out of that spell level.
Right.
Once a creature gains that, they
slot.
can't again. It's one slot. Once a creature gains that, they can't again do that until a long rest. So you can't just, because you get to use this ability a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and then you regain on a long rest. So at level 6, your PB is a 3. Level 10, it becomes or level 9, maybe it becomes a 4. Eventually, all the way up to 6. Depending on the size of your party, you could just, for 10 minutes, give everybody in the group a D3 to attack rolls and ability checks and just burn all of it at once. But you cannot just sit there and be like, hey, sorcerer.
Keep feeding the sword.
Boom,
right.
boom, boom, boom. Shield spell back. Like, no, you can't do that. Once you give it to one guy, you have to go to the next spellcaster and pump them up. But still, I like this a lot. D3 is an interesting choice just from a number standpoint.
Yeah.
But I'm into it. I'm into it.
I like it. Definitely got that wild bit of the wild magic baked into D3.
I like it. So then, at 10th level, you get Unstable Backlash. Now, while raging, immediately after you take damage or fail a saving throw, you can use your reaction to roll on the Wild Surge table and immediately produce that effect. This effect replaces your current Wild Surge effect. So, it just gives you another reason without having to drop your rage and re-rage. Because to drop out of rage is a bonus action. And to rage is a bonus action. So if you wanted to do that, it would take 2 turns. Right? Unless you fall out of rage naturally from not attacking somebody or from not taking damage or something like that, which is possible. But in order to Wild Surge again, it doesn't have that like Storm Aura thing where you can just pump it over and over again.
Right.
Which is why I think why the Storm Aura does such little damage and stuff. Is because you can do it over and over and over again. But that's cool. You can switch it up, get a different ability or different effect or something like that. And then 14th level, this is where you get to control it. So now you have Controlled Surge. So it's essentially rolling with advantage. You roll 2d8, pick the effect that you want. And if you roll the same number on both dice, you get to pick which one.
That's cool.
I love it. I love that a lot. I think that this is a really, really fun one. I think at the early levels, it's one of those things. It depends on you as a player. Because I think there are going to be some players that love this because of the randomness, because of you have to adapt. You don't know what you're going to get. You know, like you could get the effect that you want and you're like, yes, the flumps. But you also could get the effect that you're like, oh, okay, this isn't as helpful. And then you have to get creative with it. So there's going to be players who like that challenge. And then there's going to be players who are like, I don't like the randomness. I keep getting abilities that aren't super helpful during this particular combat. And that does suck. So it's going to change. It's going to vary player to player.
If I did play this, I'd want to do it at least at 10th level. So if I get a bad effect, I can re-roll it.
Yeah, for sure. I I tend to agree with that one. I mean, I like it a lot, and I think maybe it's just because like it's hard.
Yeah.
The hard part is this for me with Wild Magic Barbarian. I just like some of the other subclasses better.
Yeah.
It's not even a knock
Yeah.
on Wild Magic. It's truly a just the other ones are, I think, better.
Yeah.
Between the giant and the one that you're about to go over, oh boy.
Yeah. Giant's really good. Although I did notice in the Wild Magic table, you kind of get a version of that giant ability with the thrown weapon stuff, where you can basically, while you're raging, your weapon's it does force damage and it gains the light and the thrown properties, and it also has that same flashback to your hand.
Yep.
At the end, it says at the end of the turn, not when it hits or misses. It says at the end of your turn. So
yeah.
it's a little less, but it's still, again, it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's cool, but it's like other classes can do better stuff. So without further ado, let's crank into this last one, because I think this one is both of our favorites, because I've read through it.
Mine.
It's so good. It's so good. All right. So starting at 3rd level. Oh, I should tell everybody what it is rather than just kind of assuming. Yeah. This is the Path of the Zealot subclass. This is kind of a like a divine, or just kind of a more deific.
It's a religious barbarian.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah,
There we go.
that's how
Thanks.
I think of it.
Thank you for bringing those words out, because I couldn't. Anyway, so for the Path of the Zealot, you're going to do at 3rd level, you get Divine Fury. So while you're raging, the first creature you hit with an attack takes extra damage. Is that per turn?
It's one.
While you're raging,
yeah.
Yeah, on each of your turns, every time you do an attack, it does an extra D6 plus half your barbarian level. And then,
it's the first hit.
Right.
The first creature that you hit on each of your turns. So even if you had 7 attacks, it only is extra damage for the first attack.
For the first one. But still, that first hit is a D6, so it's a damage die plus half your barbarian level. That's like basically another weapon attack, or like an offhand attack. Just the damage part without having to roll it. And then also, this damage is radiant or necrotic, depending on how you want to flavor it. You could go like dark deity or light deity type of deal. And then also you get at 3rd level the Warrior of the Gods, where if you are the target of a spell where the spell's sole purpose is to bring you back to life, you don't need material components. So spells like Revivify or Raise Dead or something along those lines, no material components needed for it. So you don't need diamonds or anything to be brought back. You can just you're just kind of chilling at the gates, waiting for the bus for somebody to come reach and grab and pull you back, basically, is what this feels like.
It's insane. I love it.
So, I mean, all the material needs, you can be that frontline tank and go down and die, and it doesn't matter. But it's probably not going to happen because of all of these other things that you get later on.
Yeah.
So that's the big things for a 3rd level. That's some big stuff. Starting at level 6, though, you'll get Fanatical Focus. So if you fail a saving throw while you're raging, you can re-roll it, and then you have to use the new roll. So if you fail a saving throw or whatever, you can just be like, nah, I'm going to try again. And then you can only do it once per rage, though. So not as big, but it also could be huge in saving throw, from a saving throw standpoint. Sometimes these things are big, scary things.
Yeah. And it is specifically if you fail a saving throw. So you will already know that you failed.
Right.
So even though it's like, you must use the new roll, who gives a shit? You already failed.
I already failed
Who
it.
cares
right,
if you
exactly.
use the new roll? But like, I like it a lot. I mean, it's just, of course, it's a nice ability, right? You're not using anything. It doesn't use
It's not a reaction
or anything.
Like
it's just it's like Indomitable, but you only get this one per rage.
Right.
But yeah, it's that's awesome.
Yeah.
Might as well.
So this next one is where it starts getting really, really, really broken. So starting at 10th level, you get your Zealous Presence. And At 10th level, you'll channel your divine power to inspire your teammates. And as a bonus action, you can pick 10 creatures of your choice within 60 feet of you that can hear you. So silence could potentially knock this out, but holy crap. Up to 10 creatures within 60 feet of you gain advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn, at which point you can just frickin' do it again.
I think there is. Isn't there?
Oh no, it is. No, it is. Once you. Okay, never mind. I didn't read the last line.
I was like, dang, that'd be crazy if you could just do it again and again.
Right? Yeah, that would be wild. No, but it does. It's still though. It's a whole round of advantage for your whole party, basically.
Yeah, and if you have allies, because it's 10 creatures.
10 creatures. Yeah, 10 creatures get advantage.
Which also includes like summons.
Yeah, and
like
it's
if you
all
had
attack rolls and all saving throws.
That's fucking crazy, dude. It really is wild. Now, it even becomes more wild in a game where you aren't using flanking as a house rule.
Yeah, you're
because
right. You're absolutely
then advantage holds more weight in a game that doesn't use flanking. But I fucking love this ability. Yeah. I've seen it used, and it is so incredible. Like, the idea that it's not just attack rolls, because we talked about this with other barbarian stuff earlier. There's going to be characters who don't use a ton of attack rolls. They're making the bad guys use saving throws. So, of course, it's not going to be as effective for those people. But having the advantage on saving throws also, damn. That's crazy. So lair actions, legendary actions, all these crazy monster abilities that you're going to start seeing around this level. Wild. Wild.
And then it gets even more wild at level 14. At level 14, you are able to rage beyond death. Basically, you die and the gods reach for you to take you into their warm embrace, and you say, no, I'm staying here. I'm so fucking mad. I'm staying right here. Because basically what happens is while you're raging, having 0 hit points doesn't knock you unconscious. You still got to make your death saving throws, and you still suffer the normal effects of taking damage while at 0 hit points. So like forced failed saves and stuff like that. However, if you would normally die from failing death saving throws, you don't until you stop raging.
You don't.
And then you just don't die. You're just like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. I don't feel like it. I don't want to die right now. I'm too mad. And then you die only if you still have 0 hit points at the end of your rage. So if you're just one of those, like, just want to keep on trucking on, healer, don't even worry about me. You can get me after everything's dead. You just keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
And then all you have to do, you need a hit point. You need one singular hit point, and at the end, you're not dead.
And even if, God forbid, you are dead, no material components
there's no material components needed. So even if you do die, you're just like, oh, shit. Slot. All right, I guess, okay, here I come, Cord. All right, cool. Oh, they want me back. Can I go now? Sweet. I'm out.
Yeah. A 3rd level revivify, no diamond necessary.
Right.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. It's such a fucking good ability.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's so cool. It's thematically and flavor-wise is brilliant. Plays into it perfectly. It plays on other like base abilities for the barbarian really, really well. Because at 11th level, you get Relentless Rage. So this is the one where if you drop to 0 hit points while you're raging, you don't die, and you don't die outright, so it's not like an insane amount of damage. You can make a DC 10 con save, and if you succeed, you drop to 1 hit point. And then every time you use that after the first, the DC increases by 5, blah, blah, blah. So there's a chance you won't even drop to the 0 because you're using this other thing. And then one more level at 15th, your rage is so fierce that it ends early only if you fall unconscious or if you choose to end it. So you don't have to worry about the whole like you must attack or take damage to keep your rage going, because until 15th you do have to worry about that with this Rage Beyond Death thing.
But it's just one
Like-
level though. Like it's the next level.
Exactly. So like,
And
God forbid the creature gets too far from you and you're like, fuck, I can't. Then just like, honestly, hit yourself, because who cares? And just keep moving.
Yeah, turn to your teammates. Hit me!
Hit me.
Yeah,
So
I mean, and then
cool, dude.
at 15th level, you would just unlock the Bruce Banner. That's my secret. I'm always angry.
Yeah.
Like,
it's so good. And it's very specific. It's the only way to drop out of rage is to fall unconscious. That means that you can be stunned. That doesn't matter, because that's incapacitation. There's like so many little things. And then it's like, we talked before recording, you could be a huge dick to your DM and just be a half-elf barbarian, and then you can't get put to sleep magically. So then it's like, how are you putting this person unconscious? There's like there is like some really, really, really specific ways. There's like certain monsters and stuff like that where it's technically you're not putting them to sleep, you're just putting them unconscious. So then it's a question of wording, which is dumb, but man, or you could homebrew like a poison or something to do it, because that's what
specifically,
I mean.
it's like specifically magical sleep.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
there
are some
you would have to
monster
find
abilities, but
you'd have to find some tricky shit to make it happen.
Yeah, it's crazy, because then, like we talked about how Rage Beyond Death, what's it called? You die only if you still have 0 hit points at the end of the the rage coming out. That also implies that somebody could just use Spare the Dying on you.
Yeah.
They don't even have to use a healing. They could just give you Spare the Dying, because then you're not at 0 hit points. You're stable. Now, granted, if you already failed all your death saves, then that changes things a little bit. But like, dude, it is fucking crazy. It's such a powerful ability. Path of the Zealot is by far, like, I just can't see the art. The giant one comes really close to being another one that's like insanely strong. But
you just don't die. Oof. You never die. You never die.
It's so good. Zealot, Giant, and Totem Warrior, just for that first 3rd level bear totem thing. Those 3 are easily the best barbarians.
Yeah.
Mechanically
the other thing
speaking.
is, like,
obviously,
not only are you not dead, you're up and active fighting.
Yeah.
Is the other thing about this. That's crazy. Because, like, you know, being on the ground with Spare the Dying, like, or, you know, past, like, being down but stable, you're still down.
Yeah, exactly.
You never go fight. It doesn't happen here. You just don't stop.
Exactly. Because without this, yes, you're going down. Your friends can use Healing Word and try to boost you back up again. But we all know that the way 5e is designed is that healing often can't outdo damage. It can't outpace it. Right. So, like, you're coming up, maybe you get another turn in, and then you bop back down. You're forcing your teammates to use spell slots and action economy to continually bring you back up. This takes that out of the equation. Gang, don't worry about it.
I'm good.
Don't use your spells or stuff on me until I'm, like, about to fail three death saves, I guess, if you don't want to hold on to a spell slot for Revivify or something. But, like, oh my god, it's just so good. It's so fucking good. The flavor is amazing. I've played a Path of the Zealot Barbarian, and it was so much fun. I got to, like, the backstory was so interesting to come up with, because it was very, like, because, you know, you have to decide, like, if you're a barbarian who worships the gods, at least for me, when I was coming up with this character, it was like, why am I not a cleric or a paladin? You know what I mean? So it came into, I did the tragic backstory. Yeah. I just did the tragic backstory thing. Yeah. Of, like, I was supposed to be a cleric. My entire family are clerics of the Wild Mother. But then I was out getting berries and, you know, god dang monsters came in and burned down my whole village, killed my family. And so when I came back, I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, well, now I'm a Path of the Zealot Barbarian. So I still worship my deity. I still had carried around a holy book. I said little dumb prayers and stuff like that for fun flavor. And it was so much fun doing that extra damage every single turn. Yeah, Walden Thoreau, the Furbolg Barbarian, Path of the Zealot. An absolute blast. I was strongly considering multi-classing also.
Oh, yeah?
I was going to multi-class as I thought about a bunch of things. I mean, it really would have depended on how long we would actually play that campaign, which of course was like so up in the air. But I was going to try and push the envelope and intentionally pick something that is not optimized. Like I was going to multi-class as either druid or cleric, just to kind of give myself more out of combat shit.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. It makes
made sense for the character.
It's one of those things where you're choosing flavor and role play and backstory over optimization.
Right.
Because optimized, I should have probably gone paladin maybe, because I can still divine smite.
Right.
So that would make way more sense. But I thought cleric would be so interesting to do that, to do a cleric barbarian, really be hyper specific about my spells, you know? But that being said, I mean, these are the barbarian subclasses that are available. We didn't go over Battle Rager because it's garbage. You can look it up.
Dude, like it is.
It's not
good. It's all armor based, which ruins 90% of your barbarian stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's medium armor, so you still get your rage stuff, because rage is really specifically heavy armor that prevents it. But you don't get unarmored defense. The spiked armor that you get, it is a 14 plus a max of 2 from your dex. So unless you're getting spiked armor plus 1, spiked armor plus 2, you're maxing at 16 AC. Garbage. Then it's a disadvantage on stealth. So unless you then later on in the game get mithril, whatever, you know what I mean? Like
it's all bad.
You're forcing a very specific piece of equipment throughout the entire build, and I just fucking hate that.
Yeah.
Whereas these other subclasses give you so many options. Like the beast, you don't have to always have a tail. You can choose a bite one battle and a claws the next battle. I like the options. So it's taking away the options. And even if you like the spiked armor, because there's a part of the flavor that's kind of okay. I mean, the important thing to know is this. There are over 1 million cows in Wisconsin. And on average, a Wisconsin dairy farm has about 127 cows. And did you know that ice cream was invented over 3,000 years ago in China? These facts are brought to you by Big Milk.
Oh,
Big Milk.
Well, that's all we can get into this time.
Take me back.
You can get us on TikTok and Instagram at So You Want to Be a DM, or you can ask us a question at soyouwannabeadm@gmail.com. If you like the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars and a review wherever you found us. And then check out our Patreon and our Twitch with the link in the description. Join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye.
See you.
And now I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Lee, we can't wait to roll dice with you. Nub Muffins, may Paylor's light shine upon you. And there's Vanessa D, Talk Screen, and Tappy. If you want a shout out, join the Adult or Ancient Dragon gangs on Patreon. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Wanna Be a DM.